Well, when you diminish the biblical standards, when you diminish the way God made human beings, when you stop having male and female, then you've got problems. And school districts across this country now have to develop policies to allow transgender students to choose either boys or girls' bathrooms or locker rooms. I mean, you say, okay, school choice, but the Department of Education said if the schools don't comply, they'll lose the money they get from the federal government. So the big brother is stepping in to enforce this nutty policy. Heather Stells brings us the story.
I'm speaking on behalf of my daughter, who does not want to be in a locker room with a biological boy.
In suburban Chicago recently, hundreds of parents delivered a strong message to their school board. Keep transgender students out of opposite-sex locker rooms and bathrooms.
There are sexual predators out there that will take advantage of this. The reason why we keep males and females separated is to prevent problems. But now you're saying, oh no, there's no problem.
If we're not going to separate our bathrooms and locker rooms by anatomy, then what are we going to do? Like, what are we doing?
Action by the Department of Education sparked this meeting and could lead to financial consequences for school districts across the country. The debate centers around Title IX, the 1972 federal law which guarantees equal education benefits for male and female students. 2 years ago, the Department of Ed updated guidelines, saying its non-discrimination clause now applies to gender identity. Illinois' 211 became the first school district it found in violation. Its crime, denying a boy who became a transgender girl access to female bathrooms and locker rooms. The department told the district comply or lose millions in federal funds. Alliance Defending Freedom attorney Matt Sharp says that potential financial loss could cripple school districts. The federal government typically pays them anywhere from $1,200 to $2,000 per student each year.
A lot of money, especially for smaller rural school districts that don't have the same tax base. And so for these schools, that federal funding is vital to continue to provide athletic programs and sports and books and lunches and all of the things students need to learn.
Schools are also faced with an open definition of what it means to be transgender.
So schools are left in this very difficult situation of saying, how can we know if this is a student just wanting to gain access to the opposite sex restrooms or a student who genuinely believes they are the gender of the opposite biological sex?
It happened last year at this Gloucester, Virginia high school. A girl who became a transgender boy told administrators that he wanted to use the boys' facilities. The Gloucester transgender student has changed his name and undergone hormone treatments in order to create a more masculine appearance. He says using the girls' bathroom or even a private bathroom would make him feel like an outcast.
For me, the thought of going into a separate restroom, which might as well have been labeled other, was just far too much to bear.
Some students back in District 211 told CBN News they agree separate is not equal.
If you separate somebody from their peers, you can't call that equality. It's just not fair to them.
People are talking about justice for everyone, privacy for all students, but what about this specific student who has been discriminated against?
But privacy advocates, including many parents, believe separate facilities provide a reasonable compromise. The Christian legal group Alliance Defending Freedom says schools should adopt such policies.
But as an act of compassion and using policies like ours, they're saying, we will give you a private place to change and use the restroom. We are going to accommodate you so that you can have a place at school that's just yours while protecting everyone else.
School choice advocates like Neil McCluskey say while the federal government should protect against discrimination, it should stay out of the transgender debate for now.
There are competing values there. A lot of people are concerned about privacy. A lot of people think that's a moral issue. And it's something that should be debated at local and state level.
A federal court will soon decide the Virginia case and could set a national precedent. In Illinois, District 211 recently settled with the Department of Ed. It built changing stalls in its locker rooms for transgender students.
They're trying to rewrite Title IX by memo.
It's a defeat for moms Vicki Wilson and Lisa Moran, who have formed a parent group to support separate facilities. They're urging others to get ready and take part in the debate.
This is going to be affecting so many districts. A lady from a neighboring district just came up to me and said, I need help.
It's a social experiment most parents never dreamed would happen, giving students the ability to choose their bathroom and locker room. And with no scientific or legal definition of what it means to be transgender, the new federal policy has left the door open for many difficult, awkward, and potentially abusive situations. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Iranians are developing nuclear bombs. The North Koreans have a thermonuclear device that they say they have exploded, and they have rockets capable of reaching, well, maybe as far away as the United States. The Shia and Sunnis in the Middle East are getting ready to go to a major war. We are facing thermonuclear annihilation. And what are we debating in America? What are we debating? Where a little kid goes to the potty. I mean, this is nuts. Absolutely nuts. I mean, it is crazy. And a little child, how does he or she know? You know, they say so much of this is sociological, that there is something that is just impressed on some kid and they grow out of it, and you never know who's what. I mean, this whole thing is insane. And for the United States of America to put the power of the federal government and all of its money and resources behind this transgender movement, it is just nothing short of insanity. And you ask yourself, when do we get free from this nonsense? But it gets worse and worse and worse. This is liberalism run amok. Oh.
Well, you wind up asking yourself, what's really behind it all? I mean, it's
well,
a cultural revolution that I think has been happening gradually for decades.
Well, they have same-sex dormitories in colleges now. And, you know, you've got women who they didn't put them in combat. Now they're in combat. Now the generals are saying, okay, let's have a general draft and let's draft women into the armed forces. Let's blur all the lines. Well, this is feminism. What kind of thing is this? Women used to be honored. They used to be protective. The Bible says give honor to the woman as the weaker sex. I mean, we're supposed to give honor to our wives. Now you've taken away that honor because they want to put them in the trenches along with the troops. Well, I've been in the trenches. I know what it's like, and I know what some of the problems develop, and the fact that there's so many pregnancies on battleships that have these co-ed arrangements is not unusual. So, I mean, that's what we're asking for. But, Terry, I don't understand it. Well, I do understand it, too, because the idea is break down the family, break down the sanctity of morality, the concept of marital purity and all this. Break all that down. And when you break that down, then, of course, ultimately you break society down.